And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Connected for Real podcast. I'm Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman. I'm a marriage coach for women in business and successful careers. And today we are talking about expectations and business. So, Heather, introduce yourself and then we'll get into the conversation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Javier. I am a working mother of three as a sales executive, and I have a coaching program, two of which one is for holistic habit coaching for busy mothers, and the other is sales coaching, specializing in helping women of color and mothers transition to sales while staying true to their values.
Ooh, well, that was so fancy. How did you get into that?
I think with the holistic habit coaching with busy moms specifically is we go through it, we're guided by God, and I learned that my experiences and my healing was meant to help heal others. So that was really where Be About It health and wellness came to light, because even though I'm a mother of three, I had two boys back to back, which is very tough. And I was one of the only moms in my circle of friends. Like I had to figure it out, and I had to go back to basics. And a pivotal moment in my life was when I woke up heartsick, where I felt heartbroken. Like, what's going on? Why am I waking up in the middle of the night? Like, what's wrong with me? I checked on the kids, I checked on my husband, I checked on my dogs. Everything was fine. And it was that moment where I felt what misalignment was. And I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I realized it wasn't self-serving to be upset and pissed off at everything and how I felt alone. I had to take accountability for myself and start taking care of my heart. So, Be About It just means being about your heart and glowing from within, being happy from within. And in my own journey, I started working on basic nourishment, reconnecting with my faith, actually having a conversation with God versus help me, versus like, why is this happening? I asked for more guidance.
Right.
And I realized when I turned my faith to talk to him and asking for more guidance, the more my eyes opened to solutions and blessings.
Right.
So that just really created the path for me to look at habits holistically. And mothers, my friends started coming to me because, again, I was the first one out of many of my friends in my network to have kids. They're like, how are you doing it? How are you doing it with kids? How are you doing it with nutrition, working out? And not even just that, how do you manage your time? All this stuff. So I created a whole program that was group coaching, really popular, especially during the pandemic when people had to get back to basics. And then I've coached teachers, educators, women in leadership. And so that's how the holistic habit coaching came into fruition. And then with sales coaching, I realized that was another calling, another purpose, because I am in an executive sales role for a leading diagnostic company. I've been in this industry for over 10 years, and my approach to sales has always been interesting. And I've always questioned, like, how did you do that? What is your approach to this? Always gaining my instincts. And I realized that a lot of it has to do with the fact that I know what it's like to feel unseen and unheard. So I make my customers always feel seen and heard. No matter what the situation is, I'm just holding space and that call, whether it be with my team members or customers. And when I realized I was onto something and I have reaped the benefits of just a wonderful career that I love, that I feel like is in alignment with my purpose, then I created the Transition to Sales podcast and sales coaching to help other women of color, other mothers benefit from this B2B sales career.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. How do you hold both businesses while staying, almost like you can't focus on too many things?
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you doing both? Is really
Yeah,
my question.
I think yeah. I'm doing both programs, but I do work full time. And if the question is how am I doing my coaching business and my full time job, I I pray every day. I know that's where it starts. So I also ask for guidance, and I also make sure I include my partner, my husband, on the plans. But most importantly is I believe in growing at a capacity that I can carry, right? So I I have to treat my family as number one. And in order to do that, I need to take care of myself. And part of taking care of myself is being realistic of what can be done in a day, in a week, in a month. So every month, I am outlining what is feasible for specific areas in my life. So it's like time buckets, is how I describe it to my clients. There's an area for myself, there's an area for my family and household, there's an area for my business, and there's an area for my full time job. Right. And so just outlining what's realistic in a month, in a week, in a day is how I go about it. And every morning, I pray and I meditate and just visualizing how I want the day to go, what kind of energy I want, and I listen. And sometimes I hear him and I'm just like, okay, I got to check in with this person or have a really good podcast interview with you. And that's my work for today, right? You're right now, I'm meeting with you on my break in the middle of a full-time job, and 5 o'clock today, just going to be family. But me meeting with you is part of my business today. And I get to let go of everything else. So it's so important to remember that we can't do everything every day, but to live God-centric, to live heart-centered is remembering the kind of energy we want to be about, right? And then aligning our goals and our actions accordingly.
Hmm. Okay. I was more thinking in the two businesses, like the habit one versus the coaching. But it feels like the habit one, is that more passive, or like you've created it once and now people just go
Yeah,
in there?
yeah, I've created it once, and so I go off of referrals. People remember me, they continue to see me. And then my sales coaching and my podcast, that's still in stealth and creative mode. And so I have discovery calls, I have clients here and there. But I feel like the holistic habit coaching is ongoing because I get referrals.
Ah, nice. Okay. So you basically created that one first, made it sort of self-sufficient,
Yeah,
and then moved on to the next thing. I think that's really important for people to realize, because when doing anything, when growing anything, one at a time is a lot easier to
mhm.
focus than if you had a lot of different things you're focusing on.
Yeah,
Right. And then if you are doing two at a time, I'm thinking like, even just with our kids, when you have one baby at a time, then this is what you're focusing on right now. This is the thing that's sucking most of your energy. But if you have twins, at least they're in the same needs, they're like both similar. So you're not spread thin in that focus aspect. Obviously, energy, you're probably exhausted, and hopefully you're getting a lot of help. But when you're thinking about like two businesses simultaneously, the best way is what you're just describing, like setting one up first, then realizing I'm being called to do the next thing, but this first one could sort of live on its own.
yeah,
It's old enough to take care of itself.
yes. And some elements of life coaching just seeps into my sales coaching clients.
I
So I
I
feel
I
like
I very much hope it does,
yeah,
because
well, it's just there's just good synergy, right? Like some women just need the holistic habit coaching first, build their system for themselves. What is that quote? Like if you don't know what path to choose, choose yourself,
Mm,
right? So I have to guide women through that. And what I love about holistic habit coaching is it gets them to the place of worthiness. Like I want to make more money. I want to
mhm.
own my time better. And they have this confidence. And so some, I just do a little bit of career coaching as like a add-on to our life coaching, or I help them transition to sales.
I love it. Wow. So let's talk about expectations, shall we? And
Yes.
that is the topic of today, and specifically business. I'm just going to give the listeners a little bit of background. We have four pillars in my program. God is at the core, marriage, business, success, whatever you want to call it, are the two other pillars. And then you are the last pillar. You're the container of all of it. So, you know, when we take a topic in my podcast, we take it for a whole month and we go at it from different angles. So if you guys are, looking back to see some of the previous episodes, it's going to be expectations in God, expectations in marriage. And this one is expectations in business. So there's something really amazing that happens when you take the same exact topic and come at it from different angles, because suddenly you see things from a different perspective. And even just now that I'm, right now we're batching. So I've just finished 2024, which was an entire year that I batched and had running in the background, which was so super cool. And now I'm batching 2025. When you look back and see the whole year with all the four topics each month, you also not only see that one topic from four different angles, but you also see the different topics that touch that one pillar, right? If you want to just learn about marriage, you could just go and listen to every single marriage one, and it's all these different angles coming from that center marriage. So it's such a cool thing that happened. It was designed, but it was downloaded. Like, I felt very, very blessed to have gotten that guidance to do it this way. And so now we're talking about expectations, and I want to hear from you. How do our expectations affect our business, and how does our business affect our expectations? Where can we make it all work?
I feel like when it comes to expectation of self, how do I answer this? Earlier, I was talking about the concept of growing at a capacity we can carry, right?
Mhm.
I know what being burnt out feels like, and there's a difference between just gauging our time and gauging our energy. So
Mhm.
oftentimes I know what will not make sense and compromise my rest and make me cranky for the next day for my kids. So when it comes to my expectations for a business, I get it aligns with just what do I want it to be about? What do I want it to feel? And then aligning certain milestones in a way that makes sense for a time frame for myself and my family. So when I was creating the podcast, for example, it was during the summertime. It was when there were a lot of moving parts with the kids' schedules because they weren't in school, they were in summer camps. Work was also crazy. I couldn't quite pour into coaching as much as I wanted to. The time that I had free was at night to work on my stuff. And so I let everything else go. I was focusing on my work and my kids during the days. Summer is so hard when they're not in school because it's different camps and everything. And so my expectation for my business was that I was going to pour into it at night when the kids are asleep. And I was going to pour into myself and my relationship, you know, on other nights and other days, but I had a plan of when I was going to record certain episodes. I had a plan of when I was going to, review content for my creators. Like it was all at night. It just made sense.
Right.
So it's like shifting around my time around the energy I wanted to feel helps shape my expectations for my business.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that is coming up for me with expectations in business is that we expect our business to fill a need
Mm.
that it sometimes doesn't have the capacity to fill, right? It's sort of like the question I ask my clients. I have this favorite question I created. I even did a YouTube video about it. If you had $17 million, how would your life change? Like, what would you do with $17 million? And then women will start saying, oh, for sure, I'll give a tithe. So that's, 10% at least is 1.7 million. So I'll have to deal with that. And then, I want to buy a house. I want to build this. I want an interior design. I want this. They start thinking of all the things they want. But then after you get all the things you want and after you figure it all out, at the end of the day, you still have to wake up in the morning and do something. It's like, so how did your life change? And that's when it starts getting really sticky, because how did it change? Do I do things differently? Do I change my priorities? Do I, you know, And it gives a lot of clarity. One of the ladies I was working with, she said, "Oh, I would go to a dance class once a week." Like, really, you need $17 million in order to go to a dance class,
Uh-huh.
right? And so it forces you to really think about what actually matters. And then you realize you don't need the $17 million to do it. So when I think of business and what I expect from my business, some people will say, well, I expect my business to make X amount of money, or I expect my business to bring me this amount of clients. Why? For what? What is it actually doing?
Mhm.
Because our expectations of our business sometimes come to fill a need that isn't actually filled by money or by this external fulfillment. Can you expand on that a little bit?
So when I coach women sometimes on their business, they're focusing on a lot on the financial part, right? Like I want to make X amount of dollars for my business, but it doesn't make sense to make that much money given very little time. There's other things that need to be worked out, like your system, the skeleton of your business, the structure, the flow, how you get your clients, the buying experience. Like a lot of that needs to be set up before you can even expand on, I want to make X amount of dollars. It's also important to think about operational costs too, and thinking about the kind of work you actually want to do for your business and the work that you don't want to do for your business. Like that's a really good expectation too. That's how I started to map out what I wanted to make initially in coaching, was just like, I don't want to do my bookkeeping. I don't want to do my marketing. I don't want to, stuff like, so I could just show up to coach. So that's that's my answer. Could you remind me again where?
No, I like what you said. Sometimes just sitting down with yourself and getting really clear on what is my expectation of my business? What am I expecting of myself within my business? And am I okay with the business taking me a little bit off route for different needs? Like you were saying, in order to grow really big, you need to take this detour and that detour and like get these skills down really well. Like you can't sell if you can't sell, right? Like if you don't know how to sell, you're not going to be able to sell X amount of coaching programs or whatever. And I could see in my own journey, I had goal in mind, but I didn't have a timeline. My goal was, how quickly can I get to six figures, right? I wanted to see how quickly and what it takes to get there. So, what skills do I need to gain? What things do I need to master? How do I bring myself? How do I hold myself? What do I think of myself? All the different things that had to come with this experience. So, I like that you're saying realize that the expectation needs to be aligned with the reality of what it takes to run a business.
Right, right. And what I mean about growing at a capacity you can carry is being real of what your level, your skill set is right now, your resources are right now. Right. So, I started I don't even think I had a coaching program yet. I joined a business coaching program that was like just for me to learn from other women some of the mindset blocks we have as running a business, putting a price on our offerings. Like I had to work through that. And I knew at that time, I didn't quite knew what I was creating just yet, but it helped to sit down with other women who were also identifying what their services were, what their pricing was going to be, what the buying experience was going to be. And having that network of like, who is your bookkeeper, and ooh, who did organize these slides, and who is your VA, things like that, to start building the business. So by setting an expectation for the business, we need to be very clear of where we are at in running a business.
Yeah. And, I like that you said you joined a program in order to learn, because I find that I learn best when I am part of a program too. And I started my business, I got a coach, and, and I focused first on money because I needed to get out of poor mentality before I could do anything else. So I think that was the best move I could have done. Like, first, I worked on my mindset. I completely transformed the way I see money, the way I see success, I was afraid of success because,
Mhm.
what was it going to mean for me? Am I going to disconnect from God once I could just like do it all myself? Like that was my fear. Is like I can't be successful because then I won't be as connected or then I won't be as humble. And actually, just a spoiler alert, that's not true, or at least it doesn't have to be. But what was really beautiful is that as I'm going through my own process, I am realizing that this is how I expect to do business. When I think of succeeding and doing business, I know that one of the things I'm expecting is to be part of a program, is to have coaches, is to have people around me who are ahead of me, because that's the way I learn best. That's the way I stay motivated. So my husband would look at me and say, when do you think you could be done with like paying for this coaching thing? Like, it's a big expense, right? I'm like, never.
Yeah,
I
because we're always
I
growing.
really like it. I like being around people who get me.
Mhm, mhm. Like you said, it's wonderful to have a container of shared experiences where we're all trying to level up together. That's why coaching is so powerful, if whether it be coaching for ourselves or coaching for, our own clients, because where else would they work through the mindset blocks, receive the guidance that they need to talk about what's really holding them back from leveling up.
Right. Yeah. You know what I love that you brought up, and I'm just realizing that I have a little bit of that too. Is you said first you had the, the personal things, the
Holistic
habits
habits.
and the time management and whatever, all that stuff. And then you leveled up to, to business and sales and that. I feel like my 4 pillars are exactly that. It's like when somebody works with me, we're working on your relationship with God. We're working on your relationship with your husband. We're working on your relationship with your business, and we're working on with your relationship with yourself. And it's all in one container because they're all so intertwined. You can't just focus on one.
Yeah.
And I think when we're talking about expectations, one of the things I want to bring up for the listeners to hear is that if you think that all you need to do is just focus on your business and everything else will just fall into place, then you're not realizing that your business actually affects a lot more than you think, and that you affect your business a lot more than you think. Right? If there is stress in the house and you're frustrated with your husband and you just like walk out being all annoyed, you're not going to function as well.
It's so true. It's so true. And part of how I've created the business for myself is because I have so much love and support in my life that I have more to give. That's why I have the business. That's why I'm able to connect, is because I feel connected in so many other levels where it's like, oh my gosh, I want everybody to feel this way. So I'm able to give from an abundant source of energy and not a depleted sense of energy. And similar to selling, it's like we can't sell when we're desperate. Like customers are so smart. They always gauge your energy. Like I've seen it. I've been there where I haven't had a good day and it's like I had to check myself. But if we can get in the mindset of, sometimes we do give more than what we receive, but we are always abundant and looking in areas where we are abundant, we can use that as energy to pour into our business. But we have to identify certain gaps. A big topic that I cover with my clients, with my holistic habit coaching clients, and is a big block from practicing holistic habits, is communication with their partner,
Right.
communication with their kids. And when I coach them on how to articulate, how to advocate, how to communicate to build connection and accountability and set those expectations, then they're able to gain time and energy for themselves again.
Right.
And that pours into how we communicate at work and for our business also. So you're right. It's all it's all interconnected.
There was something you said that made me so excited. I was like, "Ooh, I have to say something." And then now it totally lost my train of
Oh,
thought. And so I'm trying to think, can I get back to it? Because I really liked what I had to say.
sorry.
It's not your fault. It's, if it has to come, it will come. I trust that God is going to bring it back if it needs to be here. But now I'm trying to think, where are we going with this? Because I had what to say. Do you have anything that you feel like you want to start talking about? And then I'll stop you if it comes back to me.
I want to know your insights on, you mentioned you have this meditation library for your clients and how it does help them. I just want to know from your insights, how does it help their business? How does it tie into the expectations?
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a great question. Okay. She did her homework, people. Uh, so yeah. So in my program, I have a private coaching program called Balance for God's Sake. And the goal is to create that balance, right? Between God, marriage, business, and you. And one of the things is a meditation library. And basically, the way I do meditation is very different than what I see around in, a lot of different people and places that I've seen. My meditations are very guided to get an answer.
Mm,
So it's not just relax your body and feel good, which is great. And that's an amazing goal just in itself. But a lot of times when we relax and just leave our minds a little bit, sort of like allow ourselves to imagine and travel outside of our limitations, what waits for us is advice, answers, sometimes anchors
mm,
like words, images that will guide us to what we want or show us what we want or give us an answer for what we want. And so a lot of what I focus on is getting you to that meditative state and then getting an answer through
mm,
that meditative state.
mhm,
And then always I'll bring you back and say, write down whatever the word that came up, or write down the advice that you got, or write down, like, I'll remind you what thing you're supposed to write down before you speak. My father had a grandfather who was a big, big rabbi, and he was really, he was a Kabbalist. And he used to tell him that if you want to remember your dreams, don't speak. Like, as soon as you wake up, start writing them down.
mhm,
Because as soon as you speak, you go back to your brain, you go back to conscious, you're done. You have completely put everything subconscious away. And my father told me that. And I grew up on, hearing this. Like, if you want to remember something that you dreamt about or that was in the subconscious, write it down before you start speaking. And so I'll say, before you speak or before you do anything, like, just write down a word or an emotion or what you saw, or just describe where you were, whatever it is that comes up for you. So when I do my meditations, I'll always have my journal ready. Sometimes if I don't feel like writing anything, that's fine. I don't have any rules, so you don't have to. But when you do have something to write, it's so handy to have it there and just jot down a couple words or jot down the thing that was said. And I have some great insights that I myself got from my own meditations. You know what happens when you create them for other people and then you're like, oh, I really need a good meditation and I can't find anything online. I'm like, oh, I should just use my own. So I end up tapping into my own meditation library, and I get the coolest things, and my clients get the most awesome insights. Some even meet people that they haven't seen for a long time. We had one meditation that people kept telling me that they're seeing their father. And like, I said nothing about their father anywhere in the meditation, but it just kept coming up. Oh, I saw my father. Oh, I saw my grandfather. Oh, I saw my father. And he told me this and he told me that. And, these are women whose father aren't with us anymore. So it was just really fascinating that the same meditation kept touching at something that brought up, I had no idea. Like, when I'm designing and I'm doing it, I'm very much a channel. So I don't believe that I am creating it, even though it's my voice and I'm the one sort of putting it together. But I definitely feel, and I'll be mid meditation creating a meditation and I will be blank and I'll turn to God and be like, I have no idea where we're going with this. Do you want to like download something? Like any ideas up here, And suddenly I'll have something like, oh, we're going here, we're going there, and like this thing has to happen. And then the women will come out of the meditation going, wow, how did you know? Like that was exactly what I needed. So it feels really good to be in that place where I'm able to tap into that. I know what I wanted to say.
Mm,
Boom.
there.
Remember. And it has to do with this. This is amazing. You said something about the abundance, and
Mm,
it really touched me because one of the things that we have the hardest time with is we have a belief that work has to be hard. And if I want to do something, it needs to be something I need to work at, right? So, for example, when I went to, after high school, I went and I went to Pratt Institute. I became a graphic designer. I became one of the top graphic designers. I did a lot of great stuff, like so much fun, designing Nickelodeon and Disney and like Walmart and Target. Like I did some cool things and I loved it, but it was always work,
mm,
you know? It came easy to me and I did it and I enjoyed it, but it still felt like work. And I had to learn new skills and constantly be up to date and learning all the time, whatever. But when I pivoted, when I was a graphic designer for 15 years. So at this point, I was pregnant with my number 6. Okay. I have 8 kids now, for those who don't know. So I was pregnant with the number 6. I'm pivoting and I asked God, what do you want me to do? Why is it that you're pulling me? Like, what are you calling me to do? And I just kept asking and asking. I want to know your will because I want your will to be my will. And if I don't know what you want, then how do I know what I want? You have to tell me. Like that was my prayer, word for word. And and eventually I just said, show me, because I wasn't getting any answers. And I said, show me. And that day I got 3 people who came to ask me for advice.
mm,
And I thought, why is that such a big deal? People know I give advice all the time. Like I am a wise person. People know to come to me. But why would that be my job? It comes too easy, you know?
mm,
And when you were talking about that abundance that you have, that you just want to like share this excitement, share this love, share this knowledge, not because it's hard for you, but because it comes so naturally to you that you want to overflow. I really connected to that. I thought if everybody listening could just tap into that, what comes easiest to you? Like so easy that you don't even see it on yourself. I had to ask my friends, what do you see in me that I don't see in myself? And everybody said, you're so connected, but you're so practical. And we haven't seen that. It's like either these people who are like up there, fluff, and they talk big and like, all connected and woo woo and whatever, but they're so up in the sky. Or these people who are very logical and put together and practical and know what's coming and whatever, but they're not they're not connected. And they said that is your superpower. And I thought, I I don't know. Like, I don't know. And the more I heard it, so now I'm starting to notice it. And the more I focus on it, I realize that is exactly what's happening, right? I'm able to connect so quickly and so openly. Like all I have to do is just sit up straight and just open up. I just open up. I feel like something in like, sort of like a pipeline of light. And I can do that pretty easily, you know? And I think it has to do with being positive. I definitely think they're connected because my nature is very positive, and I think, God likes that. He likes positivity. I'm sure if you're depressed, you're gonna have a very hard time getting downloads. And by the way, we've seen this also with King David
mm,
when he wanted to get into a prophecy or a prophetic mood. He would turn on. He would have people play music, or he himself would play music so that he would get into that happy mood, because you will not get prophecy if you're depressed. Anyway, so it came so easily to me and so naturally. And honestly, I thought everybody was the same. Like I thought this was normal. I
Yeah.
thought people just connect to God. Like God made them, put them here. It, all of us are connected. We all have a soul. And it turns out they have a lot to learn from me, I guess, because here I am sitting there, actually creating meditations, creating advice, being able to see something that they don't see and just pointing it out and opening up the world for them. So it's been really fascinating to have my eyes open like that. And when you said allow yourself to, just pour into other people because you are overflowing and it's not from a grabby, desperate, icky place. I think that's the secret of your business being in flow. When your expectations of your business are, I'm just here to serve, I'm here to show up, I'm here to shine.
Yeah. And one of the things I love that. I love how you turn to your friends like, what do I have? What's going on? What do I do with myself? Because it's
53 people. I created a form, like a Google form. And I said, what do you see in me? Give me words that remind you of me. Like, how would you describe me? Like, I all the questions. And I sent it on my Facebook and I sent it in my WhatsApp groups. And I said, everybody needs to fill this out. And I had 53 responses. And it was so helpful because really everybody agreed on so many things. And I thought, wow, really?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's true. Like running a business is do the work that lights you up. One of the things I always journal about or I'll pray about is guide me to serve the ones I'm meant to. So even certain clients, when I don't feel that like heart connection, it's like they're not quite there yet, but I'm okay because I'm making more space for like these other discovery calls I have lined up. And I'm good with that. And then when we do connect, it's just so natural, it's easy. And it's like, like the universe, God, energy just really meant to set up those calls for me.
Oh, yeah. God is
Because
so awesome.
it's like we're magnets, right? We're magnets for what we feel, what we want to see. So back to your meditation, I love you have that library because, as coaches, we believe that the answers are within our clients, or it just takes some time to just sit down, tune in, and create that channel with him, even. But we're holding that space. And how it ties into expectations is grounding ourselves and anchoring ourselves with that first.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. One of the coolest things that happened right now, I'm graduating a lot of like I had a big cohort recently and a lot of people are graduating suddenly, like all at the same time. And one of the coolest things that happened is that every person will schedule a discovery call and tell me they want to focus on one of the four or two of the four pillars. Like, hey, listen, my marriage is fine, but I really need your help with business. Or, in business and you, I need to figure out my time and I need to figure out my business and whatever. Or I am fine with my business, or I don't even have a business. I'm, doctor or lawyer or whatever, but I really need help with my marriage and with my connection with God. Something like that. Okay. It will always be, I want to focus on one side more than the other or something along those lines. And I'm cool with that. I don't care because as long as you realize you have goals and you have where to go, we're good because it will all be affected anyway. I'm not worried. The coolest thing that happened is that over and over again, they are saying to me, the other thing that I thought I didn't need help with has improved. Right?
Yes.
So the one who came in for business said her marriage was completely transformed without doing anything. Like we did not talk about her marriage one time. We only focused on her business and her marriage is thriving suddenly out of nowhere and things are so great and they're communicating about cool things now and whatever like their goals, their dreams, their things that they haven't talked about for 50 years. And the other lady who's all about marriage is telling me that her business doubled without me doing anything but just by the work that we did. So it's such a beautiful illustration of how no matter what you focus on, you will impact everything else. And since you are one whole, you moving up makes everything else move up with you. So there's no other choice but for everything else to get better.
Mhm. It becomes a magnet. Like you just continue to attract that level of abundance and energy. And again, like if our marriages are thriving, if our relationship with our kids are thriving, then we show up for ourselves and our business like lit up, right? And that's why people buy, is when they feel that energy. One of
Right.
the things I always coach all my clients on is sell the feeling, not the product or service. Like,
Hmm.
what is it that they want to feel? Or, be about the feeling that you are proud to project and you can help them feel as well. It's all the connection.
Yeah. I love how you say, God is so cool that he just like handpicks the coolest people, you know? Like sometimes people show up to my discovery calls. I don't know you exist. Like they tell me, "Oh, I've been listening to you for 2 years," but I don't know them. They just hear me, right? They come and show up and say, "Okay, this is what I want. This is how I want it. What do you think? Is it possible? Whatever." And we'll have our full discovery call, which by the way, I give a full hour and I really, really want to make sure that you're a good fit because this is big work. Like this is
Yeah.
great stuff. And and if I don't feel that it's right for you, I will tell you straight out. I'm very cool like that. So we'll go through that and then it will become clear that we can work together. And and suddenly they're like, I feel so blessed that like, how did I end up with all the coolest clients, all the coolest people? And then I start matching them within each other. Like, hey, her thing, what she's doing is exactly what you need. Maybe you should be in touch. And suddenly, like, there's a whole network that's created just by the people I attract because I tend to attract really awesome people. And I feel like that's very very much like my biggest blessing in this business is that gift from God that he really like sits there and he's picking and picking. And like you said, I don't have to stress over like grabbing and wanting and like, oh, just be ready already. Or like, I wish you were, mature enough. Like, no, it's okay. If somebody's not ready, they're not ready now. Maybe they'll be later. Maybe they won't be ready for me, but they'll be ready for someone else. And maybe they need to go through someone else's program and then be ready for mine. Like life is so awesome that it doesn't have to be linear and everything's okay.
Yeah, it's just be open. When it comes to the business, there's always something to work on.
Yeah.
There's always something to delegate, something to plan, someone to coach. So there's always something. And again, I think it's just we can meet expectations when we can grow at a capacity we can carry it. And that means really being honest of where we are at in our own personal journeys so that we can be clear in how we can pour into the business that is more heart centered and God centered as well.
Yeah. I think to wrap up everything we've
Mhm.
said so far, the expectations of your business should be that there is no pressure, that this isn't meant to be, result oriented, grabby, I need this to work or else. It's more like if you're in business or if you're doing this, whatever you're doing, your work, your success is from God and it's here to guide you to become your better self, your higher self. It's a tool. And when we forget that and we make it all about the results, then we've lost ourselves within the container. Like we really, instead of us being the container that holds all this greatness, we've jumped into the pool and just sort of let everything else contain us. And that's when you get that overwhelm, when you get the feeling of like drowning, of draining, all the wonderful words that come with water, right? It's like, can we just stand up tall and say, I am ready to hold all this
Mhm, mhm.
and whatever comes and whatever is expected and whatever is unexpected. I think that's the coolest part.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, that wrapped up really beautifully. Expectations in business. Basically, what's unexpected is more exciting than what's expected.
Just
Yeah.
leaning in, really leaning in. And what came up for me as we close that is just aligning our business with our purpose. And usually that's with the experiences we've had in our lives thus far. And that's how we serve. And that's why we're so passionate. That's why we begin to attract the business we actually want to create. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on your show and holding space for all of us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Heather, how can people find you? How can they work with you?
Thank you. Feel free to tune in to the Transition to Sales podcast. It is meant for women of color and mothers who want to transition to sales while staying true to their values. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn under Heather Javier. I'm always posting there, always engaging, and open to collaborations in general.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much. And if anybody is interested in working with me, you can go to connectedforreal.com and there's a little tab that says private coaching. And you will find all the details there to schedule a discovery call, and we'll take it from there. Thanks so much.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget to be connected for real, and I will see you next week.